English literature is arguably the hardest GCSE any student can ever take. You have to memorise a ton of quotes and context, and you sit multiple 2-hour plus papers in which you have to write pages upon pages, all while ensuring you're using proper exam technique. And I'll be honest, I was definitely no natural at English literature, and to begin with I struggled. However, a year and hundreds of hours of revision later, my grades finally improved until I was getting more or less top marks in every test, and I ended up with 11 9s at GCSE. And the reason for this change was not, as I expected, memorising more quotes or writing faster, but I slowly began to understand that the fundamental issue with English literature, and what 99% of students don't actually understand, is that English literature isn't a normal GCSE. Let me explain. Back in year 10 when I first started GCSE English literature, I, being a good student, asked my teacher where I could find good resources. My teacher told me to look at the notes on PMT, as they were the best. I made sure to memorise all the information from PMT so that when it came to the test time, I could duly write down everything I had memorised, expecting a grade 9. However, as you might have guessed, I did not get a grade 9. And this brings me on to mistake number 1. English literature isn't a science. Memorising content and regurgitating it in the exam, as logical and straightforward as that may sound, isn't enough. You need to go beyond rote memorisation, because one of the things the examiner is looking for is personal interpretation. An examiner will see if what you are writing has just been memorised, if it lacks depth or just seems too formulaic. Now, I'm saying a lot of words here, and if you are confused about how on earth you are supposed to add depth and not seem formulaic, then you have realised arguably the biggest reason why English literature is so hard, and that is that it is so subjective. To use a science comparison, take a look at a paragraph from the AQA biology specification, and take a look at this paragraph from the Edexcel English literature specification. See the difference? For biology, what you need to do to get a 9 is clearly laid out, whereas for English literature, it barely tells you anything. The problem is that then you get teachers, YouTubers, and study sites claiming they all know what a grade 9 essay is, and yet they all say different things. Then you are left just desperate to know the answer, the secret formula that can get you a 9. Now, unfortunately, no such definite answer exists. However, as someone who got a 9 in English literature, I can share the tips I use to get top grades, and maybe perhaps you'll find that English literature isn't actually as hard as you think. Okay, so before we even get started, basically tip 0, I need you to grab a lightweight ink pen and start writing in messy, barely readable, joined up writing. This is because unfortunately, English literature values quantity just as much as quality, and if you can only write one paragraph, it doesn't matter how good it is, you won't get top marks. I personally use Stabilo fine liner pens with a 0.4mm tip, and as soon as I started writing joined up, my grades were transformed almost immediately. Okay, so now on to tip 1, and that is do not memorise quotes. To get a 9, most mark schemes require a level of overall interpretation, and if your paragraphs are all just centred around quotes, then it won't really work. Instead, utilise big picture thinking. What this means is to stop trying to memorise quotes and just start reading the text, like actually reading it. I personally read online articles about the different themes in Romeo and Juliet and Jekyll and Hyde, etc. Familiarity with what the texts are about on a conceptual and thematic level, that the individual quotes sort of made sense, and once you understand something, memorization comes naturally. Then, when it comes to the exam, you are no longer interested in the quotes, but more in how a theme or character is presented, arguing your point of view and looking at different perspectives, like how a real English literature professor would, and simply adding quotes where relevant to back up your points. Now, the rest of English literature is entirely exam technique, and for this, instead of simply saying a bunch of theoretical tips, I will actually show you extracts from grade 9 essays, looking at a list of different skills you need to be able to do, like introductions and adding context, and show you how the very top students do this so effectively. Now, I just want to mention that if you're finding this video useful, and you really want to stop being disappointed every time you see your test score, check out my web app Waffle. Waffle is a GCSE note-taking app designed to force you to write notes to the specification, and write concisely, cutting revision time and increasing memorization. The app comes with a bunch of features, including flashcards generated instantly from your notes, and a bank of specifications and resource links for you to use. And my personal favourite, Friends, a feature that allows you to share notes with friends and compete on the leaderboard. Waffle isn't just a web app, it's the system I use to get 11 grade 9s at GCSE. And with a promo code in the description, you can make your first step towards getting all 9s completely free for the first month. Anyway, back to the video. So to start with, just type in English literature, then your exam board, and Exemplar answers. And a ton of grade 9 answers will come up. Another helpful tip most students don't know is to replace Exemplar answers with examiner's reports, as these are literally documents filled with what the examiners say students struggled with and what they should be doing to get better grades. This can help you understand what the examiners are looking for and what they aren't. Now, you should always have an introduction. Conclusions are almost always optional, but introductions are a must for almost any essay. Your introduction should include an introductory sentence. For example, Shakespeare presents love in his play Romeo and Juliet as ... A sentence explaining each point that you're going to make in your essay, and finally, an overall audience response and writer's intention, being why the writer did X and how it made the reader question why. You'll notice not every response does all of these in an introduction. However, using this as a rough guide, you should ensure that no matter how harsh the examiner, you still get full marks. I'll also reiterate that English literature is subjective. If your introduction sounds like a grade 9, then the examiner is already biased to give you marks, leading to a better grade. Now, the best students always write their points in a way that allows them to expand later in the paragraph, so they don't give too much away, but at the same time they still sound nuanced and not just like they are stating boring, obvious comments. Make your quotes short and to the point. Don't make them more than 2 lines. At my school, the teachers always told us no more than 8 words, so try to keep it roughly that long. Something many students might not know is that you don't actually have to memorize the quote word for word. Paraphrasing is completely fine. For example, if I quoted Mr. Burling in Inspector Calls as saying, "Unsinkable, the Titanic was unsinkable," I would get full marks, even though he never said those exact words. That is me taking all the best words from about a page of text. Learning to analyze quotes is a skill that just takes time, practice, and hard work. But notice how grade 9 students consistently not only analyze the technique in depth, but also continuously state its effect. This is because in English literature, a technique without an effect is basically meaningless, at least in terms of marks. When stating this effect, make sure to add an audience response and a writer's intention. This takes your explanation from a grade 6 all the way to a grade 9. You should also add context for the questions where it is appropriate. Now, if you follow all the advice I have given you so far, you should be well on your way to a top grade. However, all of this advice doesn't take into account the most important thing of all, and this goes for any subject, not just English literature. Ultimately, a grade 9 is down to you. However many tips you find online, however many videos you watch, nothing beats just sitting down and trying everything you can think of to get a 9. Everything I've said so far comes with the caveat that you actually want a good grade, and that the only thing stopping you is just not knowing how, or needing that extra encouragement that you can actually get a 9. If it helps, the notes to this video are in the description, where you can also find all the helpful links and resources I mentioned. Otherwise, make sure to like, subscribe, comment any questions you have, and check out waffle-notes.com. And good luck on your exams.